All right, so we're live.
Maybe.
Oh.
Yup. We live.
We are.
Live.
Oh my God.
Well, I figured I'll just kick us off. I just want to welcome everyone who's joining us. I think the best way to start this is really kind of explain what we're doing here and why we decided to do this. You know, me personally, I feel like we're always told to have a conversation, keep the conversation going, especially when it comes to human rights issues, race relation issues. And after the events of last week, I felt like personal conversations just weren't enough anymore. So Jarreau and I first connected, and then everyone else joined in about what can we do. So that's why we're here. A little bit about what we stand for as a team. We're here to foster a conversation regarding the human rights battle that we're fighting, and create a courageous space in which to do that. We honor and recognize that we as a society and a human race are fighting a human rights battle. We want to be proactive, positive if we can. We want to educate ourselves and others about human rights issues, but we also want to approach each conversation and meeting we have with love and compassion. And I think that's the heart of everyone here as we do that. So I'll start with introducing myself, Rebecca Steele. I'm the co-owner of Lucy Black Entertainment and musician, violist, entertainment professional.
And I'm Lauren Bertel, the other co-owner of Lucy Black, also violist, musician, and lover of humans.
I'm Jarreau Williams, musician, vocalist, artivist, as one of my friends so eloquently put it. Just, you know, here to try to do my part to have a discussion.
We're Cash and Earle. I'm Cash Jean, and
E3 Earle.
And we're both artists and educators and chef, lovers of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Rayshun.
Rayshun, you go.
Hey everybody, it's Rayshun Nation. I had to unmute myself because I was muted. But hey everybody, I'm Rayshun LaMarr. I'm a singer, songwriter, actor, lover, happy guy full of great energy, a positive lover, and many more. So that's me. And yeah, Rayshun Nation on your side. Yeah.
What's up, y'all? I'm Aijne Williams. A lot of people know me as Scope. Really audio engineer now, connected to all these guys through music, mostly live music, some recorded stuff. But I'm really just here to guide and just to check the pulse of where you guys are and hopefully redirect people to get some questions answered and get some help and cope and get through this the best way we can. But I also want to make sure that you guys are connected to the people who are all on, Rebecca, Lauren, Rayshun, Jarreau, Cash, and Earle, and just make sure you reach out to them because we'll be receiving a lot of resources as far as where to go and you know, who you can donate to and different things that can help you and help us get through any trying time. If you guys have any comments or questions, just make sure you ask. Make sure we're on Facebook Live right now. Just make sure you hit up any of our pages. Whoever's doing the watch party, go to Lucy Black's Facebook page, comment, ask questions, and we'll try to get your questions in because we want this to be driven by you guys. We want to bring a lot of issues to the forefront and discuss things so you guys not only can cope and can hear us out, but so you guys can get answers as well and help yourselves cope and help others around you cope. So we want to be a resource. We want to grow with you guys and grow beyond this. So just be mindful of that. Just respect everybody's viewpoint and perspective because something that's very real to me might not be very real to Jarreau or Lauren or whoever. So just be careful with the trolling comments. Just make sure that, you know, we're respectful of everybody and their perspective. And you can give your perspective without, you know, bashing somebody else. So just try to be mindful of that and respectful. And yeah, just give us grace as we go through this, as we work through this with you guys. And hopefully you'll grab hold of something that can help you out today. So yeah, I want to do an icebreaker real quick. So if you're there at home or if you're in your car, well, maybe not if you're in your car because that might be kind of destructive, but wherever you are, just right now, put both of your hands up. If you can see both of my hands, all 10 fingers. All right, put all 10 fingers up. All right, so I'm gonna read out a few things, and I want you to put a single finger down if this has happened to you. All right, and we'll see at the end how many fingers you got left. All right, this is not a black and white thing. This is a human thing. So some of us have had these experiences, and some of us have not. I've been pretty privileged, so I haven't had many of them. But put a finger down if you've been called a racial slur. Put a finger down if you've been followed in a store unnecessarily. Put a finger down if someone has crossed the street to avoid passing you. That's pretty hurtful. Put a finger down if you've had someone clench their purse in an elevator with you. Put a finger down if you've had someone step off an elevator just to keep from riding with you. All right, put a finger down if you've been accused of not being able to afford something expensive. That's definitely been me. Put a finger down if you've had fear in your heart when being stopped by the police. Put a finger down if you've never been given a pass on a citation that you deserved. Put a finger down if you've never been given a pass on a citation that you deserve. Put a finger down if you've been stopped or detained by police for no reason. Put a finger down if you've been bullied solely because of your race. Almost there, we got a couple more. Put a finger down if you have been denied service solely because of the color of your skin. And lastly, put a finger down if you've ever had to teach your child how not to get killed by the police. I know that strikes a chord with many people, especially me. You see the people here. Everybody's had different experiences, and some of them still have their fingers up. Others may not have any fingers up at all. I think Cash and Earle lost their fingers like 10 questions ago. But it's a very real example of a very, I guess, descriptive example of not just race differences, but privilege differences. And so we stole that from Twitch on TikTok, but it's basically just checking your privilege. And I grew up military, so I've had a lot of privileges. So I would have had some of my fingers still up, but there's some other people, as you saw, that, every time they turn around, there's some type of, there's some type of disadvantage that they're going through that they're having to overcome in their life. So just be respectful of the people. You never know who's going through it. But I wanted to start off this discussion and get these people involved and get us talking about the pulse of where we are in this country right now. So everybody kind of did a brief introduction, but what I want to do is throw it back to Rayshun. He said a couple key things the other day on a video chat. And I just want to check his pulse and see where he's at, where he's feeling with the state of where everything is. He had some passionate things to say. So Rayshun, I just kind of wanted you to check in real quick and tell the people, how are you feeling, man? How are you just feeling? I don't know if we can get Rayshun in there. Cash, I'm gonna throw it to you if you can unmute yourself. How are you feeling with the state of how everything is going, and not just the race wars, but just the human rights issues?
All questions right now feel loaded because of what's going on in the world, and what's going on in the world isn't new. Like, for instance,
Tell the people what like we're having
something weird with the audio.
Oh, okay. I think we're back.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cash.
Okay, so I like I said earlier, it's a kind of a loaded question. Things have been so wrong for so long that, like, even with the charges being brought against all four of the officers today, and that being a milestone to some degree is literally for me like 0.00001. Like, it's so minute, although grand, minute in the bigger scheme of what we're dealing with, that if we call this a win, I will be disappointed, because this is not a win. This is this is what's supposed to happen, right? And so what I really want to see is a further push into, you know, just more reforms for these types of situations. I think this new era we're in has highlighted some old problems we've been dealing with. And I just feel like things like this that happen, whether it be a situation like Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Taylor, which are the three most known issues right now, I just feel like I'm exhausted and I'm upset, and I feel like there is going to be so much more time and grand gestures that need to be done for us to all be in a place where we can feel safe and happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the most common things I'm hearing. Like everybody I talk to is like, I'm tired. And my sister said something the other day, and I was like, how are you feeling? And she honestly said, I'm sad that I'm not sad. And I was like, what? And she was like, she was like, it's for me, like I just kind of went to work the next day, and you know, it was no big, like it was a big deal, but it was no big deal. And she was like, I'm sad that it's at that point where it's just everyday occurrence. You know what I mean? So Earle, can you kind of elaborate on being tired? You know what I mean? Like, what do people mean when they say that? What do you mean when you say that?
For me, like we discussed, we had a previous discussion before. For me, it's like, at this point, yeah, it's cool that, you know, people got arrested. You know, for me, it felt like, why did it take so long? For me, if you were a man, why didn't you just turn yourself in? Like, and even still, people they got handcuffs on, and you know, they're in jail or whatever. But I want to get past the feeling of where we're still doing this. And I said this to you before, like people can go to jail, but like they're more worried about, well, we better put the right charges up against these guys so it'll stick. You know, why are we even worried about that? Like, why is that even a conversation of if it'll stick, if he's gonna da. Like, that's the problem. That's the problem that we're not holding on to, or we're not seeing. Like, somebody will get off, we're gonna protest and be mad for a couple weeks, and then after a while, you know, he's gonna be a t-shirt or a hashtag that comes up once a year. You know, that's not what's up. It's not, that's the problem. That's what we need to understand is the problem. The problem, you know, they're talking about, well, there needs to be police reform and da. You can't reform racism. You can't train out racism. So it has to go beyond that. It has to go beyond laws, because obviously laws are meant to be broken. They're doing them every day and figuring out how to get off on them. And they do. These laws that were meant to protect us are not protecting us. It's protecting them. So you can create laws all day long. You can keep creating them. We can law this, law that, law. But if they're not abiding by the laws and they're still getting off by these same laws that they're not abiding by, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exhausting. It's an exhausting fight that seems like it's going nowhere. Rayshun, you said something the other day about your brother, and you know, I kind of had some similar feelings. I don't know if you can chime in for us, but let us know how you're feeling.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so my whole thing is like, first of all, when I heard about the news, we were having this discussion the other day. But for those who weren't there, when I heard about the news about George Floyd, it hit me in a weird way because I wasn't upset. It was more like another brother that just got shot down. Here's another brother, you know, that just got killed for no reason. And that right there in itself made me upset within myself. Like, dang, like how many times does this have to happen? It's gotten to the point where it's happened so many times that it doesn't affect me. And that right there affected me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I have a younger brother. I do not have a son. But for those who do have kids or sons or black sons or whatever the case is, every my brother who is 10 years younger than I am, to go.
Let's see if we can get Jarreau in there. We're losing you a little bit, Rayshun. We're gonna come back to you.
Every single time I'm afraid because
all good. We'll come back to you.
I'm not sure
He was
if
going when he
he's
started
gonna
clapping
get
his
pulled
hands.
over by somebody. I mean, by the cops, or if he's gonna get harassed.
I want to be able to get him in there, but we're gonna go back to him. Jarreau, if you could, man, just let us know how you're feeling. I know you've been involved with a lot of different people coming to you as a resource in a lot of different ways.
Go ahead, can you hear me?
It's got to weigh on you in different ways. Yeah, but we'll come right back to you, Rayshun. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because prior to all this going on, I had taken a month off of social media. Like I was just kind of, I think, you know, there was a different kind of tired that I was feeling where, you know, we're all dealing with this pandemic. And that's the ironic thing about what's happening right now. Like all this is happening during a pandemic. So it's like, you know, there's so many things going on right now. And I was in a state where I was constantly comparing myself to what everybody else was doing, right? Rather than sort of like running my own race and, you know, focusing on what I needed to do in order to kind of like manage what this pandemic is. And so I just kind of took a break from it all, right? And then while I was doing that, I was kind of on this spiritual walk. I was on this faith walk, you know, just trying to strengthen myself in the word and strengthen myself with optimism and just faith that whatever I was dealing with mentally, like I could have a resource to, you know, air those frustrations. And that was really through prayer. So it was kind of like one of those wow moments that the first day I come back to social media is when all of this is happening. And the first thing I thought to myself was, how can I be that source of relief that God has been for me when I needed to take a break? Because there's been so many thoughts and emotions that have been stirred up in so many people. And, you know, I've been talking about this with everybody. Like, there's been this sense of like, everything has been thrown at white people. White people do this, white people do that, white. And I know that just like we've been processing our lives for the past 400 years, now that's being thrown at so many people within a matter of days and hours. And so I wanted to strive to be the resource for a lot of my friends to say, you may not have all of your thoughts together, because I don't. And I'm like, we need to come together and we need to talk through these things. But what I'm most frustrated about, and I haven't really aired this for real, but we being real right now, I'm more disappointed at the people who have done nothing and said nothing and still posting like everything is just a dippity doo dah regular day. Because to me, what that's saying is you don't care. And I know you do care. Because why? Because we know each other. We've worked together. We've performed together. We've eaten together, broken bread together. We've done all of these things. But then when something happens like this, that's a very serious issue, I keep thinking, what if that was me? What would you do? Would you be out there like, or would you be talking, you know, being my support? Or are you just gonna fade back in the shadows? And I've seen too many people do that because, and I think what the reason is because they're afraid. They're nervous of coming out and saying the wrong thing and getting blasted for it rather than saying something or doing something. So I've just wanted to be here to be a resource to tell people, let's get off social media for a second. Hit me up, text me, call me and say, I need help figuring this out. Come to me. Like, my door is open. My heart is open. And yeah, it's an emotional toll. I'm tired because I've had to explain some of the same things to like 50 different people. But for them, it's the first time them hearing it. So I have to remember that as I'm engaging people. So I want to give people other chance to talk. We'll talk about all those things later. But my main point is, don't sit back and do nothing or say nothing. Like, come to somebody you trust and start the conversation somewhere.
Yeah. I was gonna go back to Rayshun, but I know he's let's get you in there, Rebecca. I know he's figuring his stuff out. So I want to go back to Rebecca and get the same from you, like how you're feeling about all this going down with so many people around you being affected, including yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real mix of pain, of hurt, of anger, of sadness. And I think it was kind of a wake up for me. You know, I grew up in a home where having conversations and keeping equality and human rights as a real thing was part of our upbringing. You know, you'd have conversations in education. And just in the last few months, really, I mean, it was with several things happening just this year. I think it got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm part of the problem because I'm not doing anything else. You know, I'm having conversations with people, but, you know, if I really break it down, it's probably people I've talked to and trust and know me and I know them. And how are we doing anything different? And it's so easy for us to have those conversations and have good conversations. I'm not trying to dismiss good conversations, but when the dust settles and I go back to life as normal, that's a problem. And that's where I really started getting hit last week with, okay, well, what can we do? Because that's not okay. And we have to recognize that, and it's uncomfortable and it's not something I think people want to deal with, but we're all in this together, and that's important. You got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Rayshun, I want to come back to you if you're able. If not, we'll move on to Lauren. Rayshun, you there? All right, we'll give him a quick second. We'll come back to him in a minute. I know for me personally, I'm gonna come to you in a second, Lauren. I know for me personally, it's very tough because, you know, I have a 2-year-old son, and I know a lot of people are like this out there. You know, you got kids. I have a 2-year-old son, and then I've got one on the way in September, for those of you who didn't know. And for me, it's tough because, and you see me looking now because I'm looking at my son, just really fighting emotions. But it's tough because I still haven't been able to be excited about my son coming. Like we have another boy coming in September, and for me, it's been like, all right, cool. But what consumes me is, what am I bringing him into? Like, you know, like and not just black and white, but just the state of the world. Like there's so much chaos and so much, and I know every generation feels like that, but it's so crazy now that it's like, am I bringing him into something positive? You know what I mean? Like, and so it's been bittersweet for me, and I've felt this extreme weight recently. And you know, not everybody has a relationship with God, but I have a relationship with God. And for me, the way I reconcile it is, like I take joys in almost every little thing. Like the fact that I'm breathing right now, the fact that I'm on right now with you guys, the fact that I have technology to be on, the fact that, you know, I'm in a nice house that we bought, just all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm able to take joys in that, and I'm able to exude that joy in my own domain. But then you got to send them out, you know, in the world, and that's tough for a parent, especially to send a young black child out into the world that's proven to be stacked against them, and not just a young black child, but a child in this corruption and chaos, you know, period. Like, even if I was white, you're still sending your child out into all this decay, you know, period. Whatever your race is. And so it's, for me, I'm starting to feel that weight, especially as it gets closer to my son being here. And it's just, it's no way to live. Like, you can't stay in that emotion and that feeling. But it is very real. And some of you guys are dealing with that. So we want to hear from you guys and just see some of the things you're doing to cope, and some resources, you know, to be able to get beyond that. But let me see if Rayshun's back. Rayshun's not back just yet. So Lauren,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You there, Rayshun?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Talk to us. I know you were getting into it earlier, and we couldn't hear you, but talk to us about, how you're feeling.
All right. Yeah. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah, right now it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. So what I was saying was, I know the other day we all had this discussion, and I was just saying like when I heard about the not shocking to me, and it didn't make me react the way that I thought that I should have reacted. And within that scared me. That made me feel like, well, damn, like it's been so many of these incidents where this has happened that my body and my mind has kind of gone numb to it. And that in itself scared me. That in itself made me kind of check myself like, whoa, like, okay, open your eyes, Rayshun. Like, what is going on? And on top of that, I have a younger brother who I love like no other. If you know me, you know I love my brother. You know that's my heart, my soul, my everything. We're 10 years apart. He's young. He's 10 years younger than I am. And I'm afraid and I'm worried, like every time he goes out, yes, he's a young guy. He wants to experience a 25-year-old life. He wants to experience things that a 25-year-old should experience without it being a black 25-year-old versus a white 25-year-old. But it's not like that. And I'm worried every single time that he steps out the door to go somewhere when I know like he's going out or to go hang out or just to do anything, to step out the door, it's a risk. Pretty much, most black men are taking a risk every time we step out the door. So it's like, oh my God, if something happened to me, okay, whatever. But my brother, that just blows my mind. And for us to be at this point still, and it had to come to this, for people to finally start making some type of noise is bothering in itself, but it's also good in another way too. So I'm kind of still on the fence of like, okay, why did it take this long for us to finally see something? And like Sis said earlier, like this is just a 0.1 of everything. Like I can't really celebrate. Like when I heard the news today, like I'm like, okay, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're gonna find a way to get off. Or if they get convicted or whatever the case is, they're not gonna serve any prison time. Or their prison time is going to be the minimum sentence. Or, and it just feels like I shouldn't have to think that way. Justice should work equally around the board. Cop, no cop, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. For everybody, it should work the same. And for us to still be here in 2020, reliving the same thing, somebody getting murdered on camera, and it's just, I can't celebrate yet that they're being locked up. I can't celebrate yet.
Yeah.
Because in the back of my mind is like, okay, yeah, they might have handcuffs on them. They might be in some type of holding cell or whatever the case is. But are they going to be convicted? You know what I'm saying? No. That's my thing. And I can't get happy about any of this yet. And like she said, I'm like at 0.001 of it. So that's my whole little 2 cents. And I just want to know why. That's all.
Yeah, my boy Charles made a comment the other day. I think it was Charles. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's watching. He was saying, what if? And this is just conspiracy, but like, to your point, we shouldn't have to think this way. He was saying, what if they were arrested protectively? In other words, what if it's a protection to them to be arrested? You know what I mean? Versus being out on the street. Like, what if that's their saving grace, and that's the reason they're arrested? And none of that, like, that's not the point of discussion today, but we shouldn't have to think that way. And that's to what you were saying, to your point, Rayshun. It's like, the fact that that's even a thought is like, it's nonsense. Lauren, I wanted to kind of get your pulse and how you're feeling about everything, how everything's affecting you and your family.
Yeah, so, a little bit sitten to Rebecca, just these past few weeks have increasingly just been so heavy. They felt heavy on our hearts, hearing from our friends, from our colleagues, from people who we know and love and care about, and just hearing stories from their lives about what they go through. I hope it's okay if I share this, Jarreau, but a story specifically that you had mentioned about
Please.
your plan for your car. You know, you leave your house and you go to your car. This is every time you drive, and you have a system for your registration and your license, and you have everything exactly in a place where you know that you can get it as soon as something should happen. You can hand it right over. Here you go. No, everything's fine. Here are my hands. And that just, it broke my heart, because yeah, I have things in a place where I can grab them, but that's not something that I've ever thought about. And, you know, it's embarrassing, and it's, you know, it is really a wake up call, kind of like Rebecca mentioned, and just hearing these personal stories from all of you really hits home, you know. And I think it's important for other people to hear them, and for them to talk to their friends about them. And, you know, just like Aijne, I grew up in a military household, you know, race, everything, you know, was the same to me. I had friends of all kinds, you know, and I felt like similar to Rebecca, you know, yeah, we're good, but obviously, you know, we're not doing enough, and we do have to do more. And there's just so much to be done and that we can do. And, you know, I'm just glad that we're here and having this conversation now, so that we can be part of hopefully a solution.
Yeah, it was hard for me. I was that guy because I grew up military. You know, I moved around a lot, and I didn't know, like, you know race, but I didn't really understand racism. Like I was sheltered from it. I was hidden from it. So I didn't get it for a long time. And as I got older, I was that guy that was like, black people are overblowing it. Like whatever, like not everybody's racist. Not, you know, you guys think everybody's racist, all this kind of stuff. And I was that guy. And that's, while that's still true, the issue is the fact that black people have to think everybody's racist. Like that in itself is the issue. It's like, we have to think, are they being racist? That's because of that's systematic oppression for years and years and years that, you know, it's hard to reverse. However, you know, I wanted to go into sharing a little bit of our personal experiences. And so one of the things that really woke me up was a couple years ago, or a few years back, we lived in a different place, and my son wasn't here yet, but my wife was pregnant, and I had just got a van, new work van. You guys know I'm an audio engineer, and so I bought it under my company. And I was, when I say literally around the corner from my house, literally around the corner, like I had to turn the corner and my house was right there. And I got pulled over by a cop. And not going to go into too much detail, but the bottom line was he kept questioning me about my van and where I was going and stuff like that. And I was like, the company owns the van, I own the company. And he was like, yeah, but who's your boss? Who's your boss? And like, he was trying to make me call like my boss and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I own the company. This is my van. And I had to tell him that probably 10 times. And it was just, you could tell by his tone and by the way he was asking me that I was being profiled. And it was kind of like, at that point, I was kind of shook, because I was like, is he going to make me get out? Am I going to not make it home around the corner, you know, to see my wife and to see my coming son? And then all these thoughts go through my mind, and I'm like, why do I have to live this way? Why am I in this much fear because I'm being asked about some van that I own, that I can show you paperwork on? You know what I mean? And finally he ends up letting me go, and he's like, I'm sorry, you just fit a description that we were looking for. And I was just like, I didn't say nothing to him. He got back in his car, and I went home, and I was crushed. And my wife was like, you know, what's wrong? And it woke me up at that point, and I was just like, wow, this really happens. Like, this really happens. And it was a sobering experience that really opened my eyes and made me sensitive to some of the things that some of these people experience that walk in my shoes. And it's not just a black and white thing, but a lot of people are discriminated against in different ways, and it's hurtful, it's crushing, and it's hard to overcome. And you know, that's part of the reason why we're here today, is just to help just to let you guys know that we hear you. Hopefully you guys hear us, and to provide, different ways to overcome that. And I know, Earle, I know you had some things that have occurred in your life, especially with having kids. If you could, share some of those experiences with us as to why you can speak to this type of oppression.
I think my wife and I, we our joint experience with that we can talk on is in the health field. I don't really like getting into my my health areas or whatever, but I go to the hospital. I have to go to the emergency room often or whatever. And separate occasions where I've everybody knows how I look when I'm at a gig. Everybody knows what I look like. I'm G'd up. I do my best. And I've had to go to the hospital after a gig. I'm talking, as busy as it could be, not as busy as it has been, but normal ways, I go right to the back because I'm looking a certain way. And there's also been situations where, I have been in such pain and in such peril where I've only been able to just throw in some sweats and get in there. Through this, I've had to sit in the waiting room for hours just by the way that I looked, which put me in further peril. So when it's just because of, the way you look, that really, really, really bothers me. You know what I'm saying? Because I have the same health condition that I had when I was looking nice and pressed and whatever. I needed the same care at the same amount of time in order for me to not be in the hospital for numbers of days. But yet, because you saw me for, this whatever, I get nothing. I get no assistance. You know what I'm saying? But on the other side of the coin, I get, straight assistance. And I've seen people go ahead of me, I'm doubled over in pain. I'm throwing up and all this kind of stuff. I've seen people go ahead of me. I'm not going to be specific right now because I'm trying to keep it, emotion free. But I've seen people go ahead of me that were okay. We're talking cuts, little whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I've been sitting there for hours, all because of the way I look like or who I am, or because of whoever's behind the desk that day. Yeah. That's not fair. It's just not fair. And it's like, we can keep talking about it. We can keep discussing it. I don't know when it's going to change, because if it hadn't changed by now, we got a lot more fighting to do, because we've been fighting for a long time and we haven't made a dent. We think we have, we were proud. We went from slaves to being presidents. We were proud of that. And we lost focus because of that. That was dope. That was awesome. There's nothing putting that behind, not trying to put a low light on, President Obama becoming president. But because that happened, there was like this bubbling situation going on underneath everything. We were so happy. We were, oh, y'all be happy now. Dance. Be joyous because a storm is coming. And they knew it was coming. Because for every opposite reaction, there's a reaction, right? For every action, how's that saying go? There's do. So when you've got something like President Obama going on, what's the opposite of that? And he's bringing a wave of all of this. He's bringing a wave of all of this confusion. He's bringing a wave of all this conflict and everything. And it's making it even, he's not squelching the fire. He's just fanning the flames. So we got more people that are just, proud of being this. Yeah. Proud of being hateful. So what are we going to do after this? What are we going to do after this conversation? Because we got a lot more to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a lot more to go. If they're willing to let me almost die in a waiting room because of the color of my skin, then come on.
Hey, could I chime in on that real quick?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, Earle, I just want to respond to your statement real quick about the what do we do, because that very issue that you're talking about, especially like that term going from slaves to presidents, like that's just so monumental when you think about it. But I wanted to share this just to say, you're saying where do we go from here? And yesterday I had a very productive conversation with a friend of mine who was a conservative. and who is a Trump supporter. And those are the type of conversations that a lot of people are not having right now, because people are scared to have those conversations. Not just us scared to have the conversation with them, but also on the other side of that too. And our conversation was probably as real and as productive as it could have been for the first one. And I think that's the key thing that a lot of people have to remember is this is just the first conversation. It's not going to be done after, a week from now. Like there's going to be times when, June 19th is coming up. That's the time to educate people. July 4th is coming up because that's the birth of our nation. And we know the history of our nation based on some of the issues that we're having right now. We need to keep having these sort of discussions, but I wanted to share really quickly before I toss it back, something that he told me that was really eye-opening to me. The thing that he said to me was, I wonder if somebody watching what's happening on TV right now in Middle America or wherever they are, who may be on the other side of things, is going to look at this and say that they're going to be even more fearful of Black people because of this. And my immediate response to him was, well, I hope that person who feels that way turns the TV off, logs off social media, and picks up the phone and calls somebody of color that they know and says, hey, I'm looking at all this stuff going on. I just want to make sense of it, because even though we have differences, we should still be treated as equal. And there are people out there who feel that way, even though we don't see eye to eye on some of the political issues. So I really hope that is the thing that starts to happen. And that is what needs to happen. That needs to be that next step, because without that, we're just going to keep talking to people who agree with us. And it's not really going to go anywhere. But we also need to recognize this is not just a race issue. It's a human rights issue. And if you see it that way, then it'll open your eyes to a lot of things that are happening right now, no matter, just all layers. That's what I want people to open their eyes to.
Yeah. And in that vein, Jarreau, like how do you personally encourage those conversations? I know you say your door's open and stuff like that, but why do people feel comfortable coming to you? Like people that are watching right now, sometimes they don't know where to go. They don't know how to, earlier we were talking about people sitting back and doing nothing. Some of them don't know what to do. Some of them aren't fearful, but it's like, what do we do? And we don't have all the answers, but what do you do to drive that conversation and to drive people to start having those conversations with you?
So I owe a lot of it to my background, and I owe a lot of it to my faith, is how I've become a sort of approachable person for people. Some people know my background, some people don't. I'm a proud graduate of Alexandria City Public Schools. I received some of the best public school education that a person can receive. I'm a 2-time graduate of Virginia Tech, which is a very prestigious university, but also has its challenges because it's located in Southwest Virginia. It's a rural area. So I had a story about that, but I've been called everything under the book. I've been called an Oreo. I've been called a sellout because I'm the intelligent person in the room. I've been called all those things. It's hard looking around and being one of the few African Americans, if not the only African American male in your honors classes, because you're trying to better yourself. You're trying to get to a space that you can be a contributing member of society to help your other brothers and sisters rise up. But I think also just because of the background that I've had, just because my family has always been very inviting to talk about some of these issues. And so I always wanted to be that person that could serve as the bridge, because there are some people who just don't want to hear it. No matter what you say, no matter how sympathetic you may be, there's just some people that are just on the far side of that right now. And that's okay. But because I've always been a person that I like talking to people. I like hearing where you come from and what you're feeling with certain things, because when people know that they have an outlet, they feel more inclined to get things off of their chest. And even if they say things that may come out a little wrong, they have a person who cares about them to immediately correct them and then also educate them. Because rather than just us correcting each other, you also got to put some background and some evidence on it too to support it. So that's pretty much how I approach this situation. I see it as, with the pandemic, I don't need to be out in the street protesting, because I'm also trying to keep my mom safe, because she is working in the grocery store 3 days a week. So she's already putting herself out at risk for COVID. And that's just to help us pay bills when I'm trying to do the little things that I can do as a vocalist during this time. But if I can't be out in the streets protesting, and that's not really been my forte, I'll be honest, but I can still talk to people. I can still engage conversations. And that, I feel, carries more weight and travels farther, because look at what we're doing right now, just based off of something that I just did 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, that carries weight. So that's how I choose to do it.
Yeah. And I know Lauren had a little bit of a story involving Jarreau. Rebecca, did you have anything that you necessarily experienced that kind of awakened you or opened your eyes to the state of where we are in this world? Like, did you have any personal experiences?
About me? I'm so kidding.
Everything
It's
is
all about you, Jarreau. It's all about you.
No, it's not. Please don't make it that.
I hope everyone, I'm just going to say this so everyone knows, this group of people is very close and trusts each other and loves each other very deeply. So the report, I realize, you know, I want to make sure everyone understands that. I also want to point out, because this is something I've been noticing, these actually everyone on here are some of the sunshiniest people I know. And I love that we can come together and not have to feel like you're sunshine, and that you don't have to carry people, because I think that as entertainers, a lot of times we feel that way. And so I appreciate that. In terms of personal experiences, you know, I think one that stands out the most to me was being in Memphis. One of my really good friends, who hopefully is tuning in, I don't know if Alusha is here or not, but I remember specifically, you know, I always kind of thought, like, I went to a very diverse church in Memphis, which I loved. I was in inner city Memphis. I didn't really think about racism still being a thing, because I didn't experience it. So it didn't exist in my world. That happened a long time ago, and we were better now, you know? And I remember one time there was a small group of us, and we went shopping at one of the nicer stores, like a kind of a strip mall-y kind of place, but it was like the nice area of Memphis. And I remember she came up to me and she was like, I think we need to go. And I was like, why? What's wrong? And she was like, this shop owner does not like me being here. And I was like, are you serious right now? Like, I had no idea. And it wasn't until I started like actually taking the temperature of the room, which I think I never really had to. So I wasn't used to, I wasn't staying aware. That's when I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, this is a thing. And we left, and it was small, and it wasn't like a big movement or anything, but it really woke me up to like, okay, I need to pay attention, because this isn't where I think we are, and it's not about me. And even then, I feel like I've been constantly learning and bettering myself, but also just staying aware of what's going on, if that makes sense.
So let me ask you this, and kind of hesitate, but is it hard being privileged and not being racist? Like, is it because, like you said, you didn't notice it right away, right? Is it tough not noticing, but knowing that other people are going through struggles, but not being able to relate? Like, is that a weird dynamic?
So I think you kind of hit it on the head. You can't actually not be racist in that moment, right? That's really part of what it is. It's part of recognizing, holy crap, like, that makes me part of the problem. Like, that systemic racism, and that, because I wasn't aware, is part of it, right? And I feel like even now, like, as much as I want to not be part of it, there are definitely times where I'll have privilege just because I'm white, or I'm in a situation where, I mean, like I can even think of situations in the events world because someone's getting in trouble. I'm not going to share any stories, even though it's a good one. But I'm like, some of you might know the story, but someone was getting in trouble with the police. And I really do believe if I had not shown up, because I was trying to help, honestly, I wasn't even thinking of it that way. I was trying to help get our musician to the gig. And so I was with the car, we called someone, he went to the gig, the cops came. And I really do think if I was not there, it would have not gone as well. They had called out the helicopters. It was bad. Like, I mean, like they were screaming at me, but like when he showed up again, they were screaming at him. And I had gotten to the point where I'd made a bit of rapport with the police officer on the road that he was a little bit disarmed, if that makes sense. Yeah. And we were able to deal with it. And I offered to go to court because it was like, you know, they were going to have a thing with fines and stuff like that. And I don't think it went too sideways after that, but I always worry. I'm like, I really do think it could have been really sideways. And like Earle was talking about, that shouldn't be like that. Like it never should be like that. Why should my presence make a difference? And again, that's why all of us are in this, you know, because we got to constantly remember that we are privileged to not have to worry about getting in our car and getting pulled over. I've never had a police officer be aggressive with me. I've had some be mad at me because I was speeding, but it was a warranted, I did something wrong, but it was not confrontational at all in terms of I felt threatened. And so I think that's a struggle that we all need to recognize as a daily struggle on our end of fighting that systemic racism that we have to acknowledge is what we live in, you know, without getting too political or anything like that. Well, it's true. And I think that we have to recognize that this country was built with, and please, anyone listening, please just give me grace for trying to say this tactfully and in love. It was built with a white-centric value system. And when you do that, when you create a society that is multicultural with a white-centric value system, not everyone can be a part of that. And I'll just kind of leave that there. Yeah. So it's, you know, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, for sure. Rayshun, you there? I wanted to, you know, some of the things that Rebecca was saying got me thinking about, for those of you that don't know, Rayshun, you said you're there, right? I didn't see I see you still muted. All right, he might not be there, so I'll save that setup for a little bit later. Real quick, for those of you guys who are listening, I do see your comments. I see your love. Anissa, what's up? Troy, what's going on? Sarah, Wayne, Kelly, Carolyn, Emily, Charles. I see you guys. Jesse, I see you hopped on. Milton, Tisha. Thank you guys. Thank you. Dante, what's going on? We got other band members up here. I definitely wanted to make sure I said your names because
Ricky, don't forget Ricky and Noel. I saw them on there.
Yeah, Ricky did say what's up. Shout him out if you see him, Rebecca, because I'm not sure.
We've got family on.
Hey guys,
too.
sorry, yeah,
I see my family.
Here. I'm walking into my gig.
We definitely wanted to say what's up to you guys. Rayshun, since you're gonna be gone soon, I wanted to get your take. Do you have a minute to chime in real quick on something? If not, we'll let you go. But I wanted to. Do you have a second, Rayshun?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, so real quick, for those who don't know Rayshun LaMarr, the only reason I'm saying this is for a reason. So he was one of the finalists on NBC's The Voice, and he's done real well for himself. He's hoping to to have a real big career, but a lot of people know him. He's very well known. He's very popular. He goes places, and can put on an amazing show and stuff like that. I tell you guys that because one, just to toot my own horn because I know him, but two, because the racism and oppression are no, the effects of the negative effects that our society has on people is no respecter of person at all. And so I wanted Rayshun to chime in on some of the experiences he may have had, even if it's in the industry. I don't know, he's got a lot of insider information of experiences he's had on the road and stuff like that. And I don't know if maybe you wanted to share something, whether it's from the industry or not, of an experience that you had that was negative, dealing with either racism or some type of other discrimination.
Yeah, man. So, hey, everybody again, who's just, I've had some weird and funny experiences in different places, especially performing and traveling with a popular agency band that I used to be with. And it's just been some uncomfortable moments, just random places, even when I'm going to perform for my own self, you know, even to the people who invited me there. You know, I went to a big gig in New York City and everyone was looking at me like, why are you here? Who are you here? What are you doing? Like, you know, during the sound check and all that stuff. And I'm like, what in the world? My name is right here and shining lights on the freaking building. And I'm still treated like I'm still the help. I've been treated in different places where people come up to me asking me, hey, can you hand me this? Or can you hand me that? Where's the bathroom? Where's it? Where's the this? Where's the that? And I'm like, I'm just as dressed up as you are. And does it look like I work here? Like, you know, just some things like that. It's been some random craziness. There's been one time I was in Florida, not the cancer one, but I was doing something in Florida with another band. And what's up, that? And it was just like we were the only Black people there. And everywhere we went, like whether it was to the bar, whether it was to a restaurant, whether it was down to the pool, it was like everyone was just staring and looking, like some even clearing out. One story that really got me when I first got to LA, I was walking down the street, and this is when it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, racism still exists. I'm walking down the street literally with another person from the show, and we're walking down the street just coming from something to eat. This white lady walks up, push the button to cross the thing. So we're walking up because we're crossing too. You know, this lady runs across over to the other side to avoid waiting there. I'm like, this lady would rather get hit by a car than to stay there and wait at the traffic light with us. Like, I mean, yes, I had on my baseball hat. Yes, I had on my regular jeans and tennis shoes. So what? Yes, I am in a place where a bunch of rich people live. So what? We're walking. Come to my attention. We're staying at the same hotel. We stand at the same hotel. We go in the lobby. She's in the little area waiting for the elevator. I press the button. So we're waiting. The elevator opens up. She walks in, and then we walk in right after her. She walks right out of the elevator. And I'm like, oh my God, this cannot be happening. This cannot be happening right now. And in fact, it really was. So it's still live, and it's still well, and it still exists. And I just pray that one day soon, we will all be able to just come together and be like, as one, like the song says, we can all be together as one. And that's real. One day, we can only hope though right now. And my hands are crossed, my prayers are being sent up, and I'm just hoping for the best and trying to get the doubt out of my mind, trying to be as you know, hopeful as I can ever be. And all I'm just asking is that everybody, if you don't have anything to do, just spread something positive on your Facebook, on your Twitter feed, on your whatever. Just spread something positive about this situation. Don't post anything negative about it at this time. I just encourage everybody, just post something about how this really makes you feel, but in a positive way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sorry that I have to run and do this thing, but I love y'all and thank y'all. And I will be tuning back in. If this is recorded, I will be going back in to listen to the rest of it. So I thank you and love y'all. And I'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much for being here.
Love
you.
you.
Thank you. Have a great
show. Hey, y'all, Rayshun, make sure y'all follow him. He's good. He's working on some good music to feed your soul. So thank you, Rayshun.
Dog, I'm so glad he brought up the help situation, because I've had that too many times where we've been like waiting to go back on stage. I'm like, you just saw us do the dinner set. So why are you asking me, can I get you a glass of water?
Yeah.
That blows me beyond, I'm so glad he said that. So thank you, Rayshun.
Tell me if that happens at a Lucy Black gig.
Oh, we know you're gonna go to war. We know.
No.
Well, and we have. I mean, I think that's something actually, if you don't mind me interjecting on you, I'm not trying to jump back in, but you know, we've been at gigs, and actually I'm trying to remember if it was one with you, Earle. It was a specific planner who was yelling at the band and racial slurs came out, and it was, and I actually personally was not the front person. There was another, actually that company got in between and basically was like, you will not speak to the team that way. And if one more word comes out of your mouth, we're gone. Because what do? You cannot let that happen. You can't. Like, it's just,
I mean, in that moment, you know, of course, in that moment, your professionalism is definitely tried.
You know, one of our singers, Mitch, almost walked out of the stage. You guys know
Mitch is actually here, and
he knows what I'm talking about. Then
yes, he definitely said, I often wonder what type of person I would have been if I had grown up in a world without racism. Like, that was from Mitchell Harris. And I mean, it's true. Like, it's so true. I've struggled with a lot of things like that, because I've often found myself in those situations where things are being said and done, and you're trying to just swallow it. And one thing that I've sort of, culminated from all of our discussions is the level of calculation that goes into your everyday life, right? Like, as Jarreau was talking about with where you put things in the car, we do the same. As Aijne was discussing being pulled over, we've had situations like that. As Earle discussed, getting dressed up to go to the ER, like I've actually, to add to just a small bit to that story, like I've actually was with him when taking him, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, we have to go. You're stalling. What, like, just put some damn clothes on. And he's like, I can't just walk in here like this. And I just had to walk away because I was pissed, because I was like worried and then pissed that that's one thing that I had to deal with. I just want to get my loved one to the hospital so that we can be okay, and I for me, in just growing up, so I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. I've definitely been called the N-word, off the bus, in the school. I had teachers who definitely made distinctions between me and other students. And I mentioned my parents being educators and how they fought hard, when they wanted, when my brother was young, they wanted to put my brother in special education. My brother has like 2 degrees and runs a nonprofit. Like, what are we talking about? Like, those are just the small things, and they're not small to us, but you have to sort of discount them and make them small just so you can get through these moments. And every moment, when we go to the hospital or when I show up in certain places, the code switching that I always have to do in order to just be taken, not even seriously, but to be respected, to get the stuff done that I need to get done. Like, that's ridiculous. There's no reason why a person should walk into a place, step up to something, whether it's a need, a want, a whatever. There's no reason why there should be such a desperate need to code switch just to survive. As soon I'm going to use him as an example. When the doctor walks in, hi, how are you? I'm his spouse. And these are the issues that are going on. These are things that we know about. And these are the typical things that we would do when this happens. And like, I have to take reign and let the doctor know, like, look, play with me if you want to. I know what's going on here. And I'm just going to go ahead and keep this tone and level so that we can be about the business. And you don't have to bring any of your, ideas, your inferences into this situation. Like, it's frustrating.
To go all the way back to what you were talking about, what I'm sick and tired of, Aijne. I'm sick and tired of that being the norm.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sick and tired of us having to, I'm not gonna say there's not, you know, we have to be Neanderthal like, and we have to be hood, and we have to be crazy and all that, and you got to accept us for who we are. No, there's a standard of humanness, you know what I'm saying, that you should be, of course, but we always have to go above and beyond that. You know what I'm saying? You know, just because of the new popular phrase, you know, these younger ladies and white women, these Karens and stuff can go to anywhere in flip flops and, you know, and beat up shirts and stuff and still be respected. But if we have on the same thing, oh, look at them, they must collect welfare and da 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 da. That's their first approach when they see us, our skin color. You see what I'm saying? And I want that not to be the norm no more.
Right.
Yeah, I'm light skinned or whatever, but I'm still Black. I still get mail in Virginia. I don't like going to Virginia because every time, not some of the time, every time we go to Virginia, we get sideways. We get sideways. My wife's waiting in line in the 7-Eleven a couple years ago. My wife's in line. She's in the line waiting.
We tag team.
And we were going to breakfast. We were going to breakfast or whatever, 7-Eleven. And I grabbed something and I went to go in line next to me. This dude, and I'm not trying to put, you know, hang a tag on him, but just the way they hang a tag on us, I'm gonna hang a tag on him. This dude, oh, you can't skip in line. Just like that. I'm like, I'm not skipping. My wife's right here. Well, I don't care who she is. You're not gonna skip me. I was like, oh.
I mean, we're together.
Really? We're together. This is my wife. Not even my girlfriend, not my boo. This is my wife. We both had on wedding rings. I told this man this was my wife waiting in line.
But why do you even have to say that?
Like, why do you have to go that far? Why do you have to explain to that point? That's what I want to change.
It ended, like, just to let you know, it ended in shoving. Like, that's how bad it got. And
and everybody in 7-Eleven looking at him like, dude, what is
he
your
knew
problem?
He was in the wrong. And then afterwards, the perpetual, like, because of course we're still in line and we're still trying to get stuff from 7-Eleven because we're trying to just get to where we're trying to go. And even afterwards, in line, as he's checking out, as we're checking out, as we're walking to our car, he's still talking. He's still trying to validate his bias and his racist views of what we were trying to do. And he could not handle that. We were in front and we were going back and forth. Like, it's not even a big deal. Like, but he took it there. And I like, those things happen so often. I mean, going to the grocery store with a white male can sometimes be a struggle for us. I'm just going to be honest. And there will not always, but there have been instances where I have, like, been in line and there have been questions, and instead of asking in a kind and hey, do you mind if I go? No, it always ends in an argument with one of us yelling at somebody to stop or shut up. I mean, that's not generally who I am, but for some reason in that situation, I can't even, like, it's happened so much. Now I'm going to 10. Like, I'm 10 now. You said something to me, you have no business saying shit to me, and I'm at 10. That's how I feel. I mean, and I'm sorry for that.
Just to add in, just to chime in on that real quick, because I just wanted to hit on a couple of things. The first thing about us being musicians, because that's why we're all together right now, because we all have that gift of music, right? And that's another thing too, like, because, you know, we're all trying to find these outlets, and I find ourselves, like, very fortunate and very blessed that we can use music as an outlet. And I will tell you too, like, you're talking about, like, how that professionalism that you have to carry when you're on gigs, especially, dude, as a band leader, being an African-American band leader, like, because we know when we come to gigs, we want to just be able to show up, do our job, make everybody happy, and go home. But then it's like you said, that code switching is everything, especially when you're trying to diffuse situations if certain things don't go according to plan. And it's not necessarily all of our fault, but it's just kind of how we react. Because, I mean, like what Becca said, I don't know what I would have done if I had heard somebody shout a slur to me from off stage. And I, like, the professional in me would have just, like, talked about it afterwards and kept doing my job. Because that's another thing for us as Black people. If we show out, we're proving everything that they have thought about us.
Yeah.
And one wrong move can be a death sentence. Just one wrong move. And I'm not talking about like physically. I'm just saying like being blacklisted or being blackballed from performing anywhere. And we also know that for us as performers, we're trying to keep up the standard of the people who are hiring us. So it's like that, all those things start coming into
all
play.
of that adding, all that, like all of that
The
kind
fact
of,
we have to do all that game planning.
that's the game plan, like, you know, even to the point where like going, let's go into our field, for instance. You know, when our women gotta look a certain way, and they don't even gotta be necessarily be white. You know what I'm saying? They have to be black, but they have to look a certain way, because that's the whole form that we, you know, the system that we have to have. They could be talented, all be gone. I'm talking about wreck that stage better than anybody else, but because they don't look that certain kind of part, you know, they might be too black. We can't have that. We can't have that on our stage. That's crazy. That's crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rebecca.
No, finish your. I'm just raising my hand.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's crazy. That's past that should not be the standard. That has to change in all fields, not just ours. You know what I'm saying? Because you look at a resume and you see, you know, no offense, Jarreau Williams is a very black name. I'll use that name.
It's unique.
Yeah, you see Jarreau Williams on a resume, you don't even read that mug. But my name is Earle Lloyd III. That joint gets clicked on every goddamn time. Like these standards have to change. They gotta change. It has to. That's when the dialect changes about what we're talking about. Like we're talking about normal, decent human decency.
Basic human rights.
That's it, which is crazy that we're having, that I'm pulling my hair out about this issue.
Earle, I know Becca, you had something to say. But I just want real quick, Earle, like I had a similar story to that when you talk about my name, because I take great pride in being Jarreau Williams, right? I take great pride in that. I don't care what nobody say. I know people have misspelled and mispronounced my name 100,000 times, and I'm not changing it for nothing, because for me, a name means a lot. And I know the history and why I was named that way, and why I know why I have this first name. So a prime example of that, right after I had been, I was looking for a new job, and I was trying to figure out like what I wanted to do that was going to give me enough flexibility to keep being a musician, or at least like pursue it, that I'm not at the level that I'm at right now. So I was like, all right, well, let me go see if I can work at a car dealership, because, you know, I'm good with people. I'll learn how to sell, because obviously in our industry, that's what you got to do. You got to sell yourself and your product. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the training, and this guy, he's white. He's the older white guy. He looks at my name and he's like, Jarreau. He's like, nah, people aren't gonna know that. Like, let's call you JR. I was like, now mind you, we're in a room of like 30 other people. This is a mass training to see if you want to pursue this. And I'm looking at him like, And I was like, no, I think it's not going to be about the name. It's going to be about the quality of service that I give. Because I guarantee you, me as a vocalist, when I go out places, they're like, man, who was that? And they're like, oh, that's Jarreau. Like, oh, I'm going to remember that name now. I let my work do the talking for me. Yeah. I let my work pronounce the name. So don't try to tell me that I need to change my name, because
I let my work pronounce the name. I let my a t-shirt. I let my work pronounce the name. I love that.
Hey, we preaching up here today. Hot
I love that. I love that. I love that. And that's the thing. I mean, I hate to sound like that guy, but they've changed our names over time for that very reason. Oh, your we can't pronounce Toby. That. Oh, we can't pronounce that. No, you just take our last name. You'll be all right.
Rebecca,
so.
Yeah.
No. I didn't mean to cut his thought off. I thought he was done. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
No, so I was actually going to comment. I know we need to get wrapping up pretty soon. Yeah. I was going to comment, and this is definitely something that can actually come back to when you were talking about, especially Black females in these bands and the way they should look. I've been privy to conversations that were sickening. And it was like, how is this how people think? Because I understand they're trying to sell, usually to white people. And please understand where I'm coming from when I say that. I'm just saying facts. I'm not trying to
where the
make
money is. Just being real about it.
A lot like that's kind of where it is. And there's this catering to what it should be. Like, don't be too dark, don't be too big, don't be too whatever.
I'm all those.
And
don't forget this. Don't forget this.
That crown.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of things people think about, and but I've seen this also with white girls. Like, you know, one of the singers I met through Jarreau, you know, her specific hair color was dictated, and right, that one was a little. Anyway, that's one thing Lauren and I, and this is part of why I love this team specifically, is this accountability, because I know you all would call us on it, is we're very committed to like talent and people. And like Earle was saying, you can have someone who's as talented as the moon, or whatever phrase you want to use there, and they wouldn't get the role because of a physical look. And
do a whole nother talk on that.
That's a whole nother talk. I think that this forum is a great launching point for gender roles. Even I think that, you know, Anissa, who's a dear friend on also, she's also part of our team. She and I spoke also about the specific issues with Black women. I think that's something a lot of people aren't talking about, and we need to, again, for another day, we need to make sure these are things on our screen. We are running out of time. I would love to, if anyone has a last comment they want to share, just to wrap things up.
Well, this isn't gonna be the last time we talk, so there's gonna be
no,
40s.
Definitely not. I think what I would like to share at this point is, you know, you need to be understanding of where we are. Like, so this is a George Floyd situation, right? Because that's what we're naming right now. Even though there is a Breonna, even though there is a Ahmaud, even though there is a Tamir, even though there is a Mike, even though there is a Trayvon, even though there, you know what I mean? Like, we can keep going back. So, like, please keep understanding that, like, this type of situation can't be the only thing that we're focused on, and this can't be the end. So understand the levels of frustration, understand why we're rioting, understand why, you know, even though the looting is kind of a different story, like, understand that even. Like, at this point in US history, 400 years past the first time an African stepped on this soil, we're not better. And most of us are not okay. Just haven't been, won't be until we see some major changes. And I realized that I'm now coming to the point in realizing that I would probably die with this level of frustration and understanding that even my kids won't even get a chance to experience sort of the benefits of what a society that's at least, at the very least, equal, at the most equitable will be like.
And just really, oh, my bad, Doug, go ahead.
Mine's short, trust me, mine's short and sweet. And I say this with all the love in my heart, with every bit of love I have in my heart: stay angry.
Yeah, and just really quickly, I just want to make it known to everybody that we love America just as much as the next person. We're not saying these things to say, like, we hate this country and, you know, like, oh, because, you know, how many times have we all heard that, well, go back to Africa line? We've heard that a lot. Like, I can't go back to a place that I've never been, sorry. But I'm like, I love this place enough that I just want it to be right, because we're all living in this space. We're all humans on this planet. We have to make this time that we're here together at least a happy place to the best of our abilities. So it's like, why don't we just get down to business, figure out what the real root of this problem is, and go to fix it, because we love this country just as much as the first person. And I told a friend earlier, we're not the same. We're different, but we're equal. I saw Wanda Sykes say that in a stand-up. She's like, we're different, but we're equal. So focus on the equal part, because I should be able to walk down the street just like any other person and not be judged before I've even said a word out of my mouth. So I just want to make that known too. Like, I love this country. You know, y'all know I sing national anthems all over the place. I love America. I love my country. I proudly sing that anthem because I know we can be better. I sing that anthem because I know that there are changes that need to be made, because I know we progressed from those 13 original colonies, those stripes, to those 50 stars. So if we could do that, we can do some other things too.
One of the things I'll say is, and I believe Jarreau said this the other day, I might be wrong on that, but when it comes to what can we do, a lot of people are asking, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? But a lot of their energy is spent discussing the what, and the what being rioting, looting, burning, cussing, people getting mad, and random shooting and this and that. A lot of energy is spent on those things. Why is that happening? Or this shouldn't happen, or this person shouldn't say that, this person shouldn't say that. And you see a lot of dialogue on social media. You see a lot of people going hard, and Black Lives Matter should be doing this and that. But fewer people are focusing on the why. And I believe it was Jarreau that put it that way. And he said, why are all these things happening? Why isn't our energy focused on why these things are happening, regardless of whether they're justified or not in terms of the level of what's happening, but it's happening because of the why, which is the root of the problem. So if we spend time focusing on that actual root of why, and put our energy there instead of what so-and-so is doing and what's happening over here, then we'll be in a much better place, and we'll be less judgmental of the people that have just snapped because they can't handle it anymore. So let's focus on the why and figure out how we can change that, at least in our own little world, at least in our household, and then go from there.
That's where it starts, bro. I mean, that's the thing. I just posted this today. You don't have to do everything. Just do something. Whether it's talking to friends or it's donating to a charity, and do the research on the charity that you're donating to. That's the thing. Don't just look at the list and be like, okay, these are the place I got to go to. Actually do the research so you know where your money is going.
Yeah, there's scammers out there. So
write a letter. Write a letter to your local, official or whatever. But the most important thing I will say is the conversations over the actions. That's just my take. Somebody else may feel a different way, and that's okay. We're trying to put all these things together. But
like you said,
the point I'm making is you don't have to do it all, but just do something.
Yeah.
And
Lauren, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Aijne.
No, Rebecca, go ahead, and then I'll go to Lauren, and then we'll wrap it up.
But it actually is with what both of you guys said. That's part of the heart of, I think, what we're doing. And we do say this all the time. We see each other as family. I mean, every single one here, in some situation, we've gotten to a point where we see each other as family. And that's part of why I felt like, we keep saying, start with the conversations at home. Well, you know what? This is our home and this is our family. And because we got actually kind of a large extended music family, we want it to be proactive. And so people listening, we'd love private messages with questions. You can comment with questions. We want to keep this going. We do want feedback. We do want civil feedback. But I'll just throw that there. So,
Lauren, did you have anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, Rebecca said it all.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
Well, look, guys, it's not only been a pleasure, but it's been great. I thank you to Cash, Earle, to Jarreau, Rebecca, Lauren. So look up Lucy.
Rayshun.
Yeah,
Rayshun Nation on your side.
Jarreau Williams, thank you very much. Look him up. Make sure you guys, if you're watching this after the live, or if you're watching it during the live and you want to go back, make sure you send your comments. Make sure you send your questions, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building this. This is basically just a jumpstart. It's a platform to have more reform, to bring in people who are experts in certain areas, to touch on different issues, and basically to create change. And so we wanted to start something. We wanted to, like Jarreau said, we wanted to do something. Even if we weren't sure exactly what it was going to look like, we wanted to do something and to start somewhere. So I hope you guys gain something. I hope you guys grab hold of something. Please comment. Please send your questions. Make sure you spread the word about Let Us Breathe. And we'll be trying to do more initiatives, whether it be musically or socially, to help you guys cope, to help people understand what's happening, and to help people overcome. So we thank you guys for tuning in. We thank you guys for watching. Once again, this is Let Us Breathe, and we'll see you guys on the music side. We out.